I've been playing Destiny a lot, and over time, I stumbled into some builds that just stuck. Not because they're meta, not because they're broken, but because they're generally fun to play. Builds that make me want to log in, run seasonal content or a GM just to feel how smooth they are. Today, I'm showing you 3 loadouts, one for each class that I keep coming back to. These aren't random seasonal gimmicks. These builds have held up over time, and some of them I use for GMs and dungeons on contest mode. You find all dim links in the description if you want to try them out for yourself. Let's get into it. Solo Warlock, the Ignition King. A bit cringe of a name, but you know, we try. I had this build saved up on my Warlock for quite some time now. And honestly, every try I try something else, I still find myself coming back to this one. It's not a meta pick, at least not as much as Mr. Chaos Reach spam. This build gives non-stop ignitions, ability spam, healing, and enough support to seriously help your fight team in endgame content. A little note for the Scourge. This entire build is centered around applying Scourge stacks from basically every direction. Melee, Rift, weapons, super, and exotic, and then triggering those massive solar ignitions. They're also pushing out a lot of healing, radiant buffs, and restoring abilities insanely fast, thanks to how well all the pieces work together. Here a little insight to ignition. The solar explosion ignitions trigger once you apply 100 Scourge stacks to the target. Once an ignition happens, all Scourge stacks will be removed from the target, and you can't apply any new Scourge to the same target for 1.6 seconds. For the super, we're gonna go Dawnblade. Not the super most people would expect. It's mostly good for damage, but lacks in every other aspect. Song of Flame would be a really good pick, since it's superior to Dawnblade thanks to the resistance and the high ability spam. But I really like Flashy Sword solo projectiles, so we will stick with Dawnblade. As well, it lets us utilize 100% of our exotic. For the class ability, we're gonna go Healing Rift. Simple and reliable. Helps you stay up in harder content and also plays into the fragments we're gonna run. For the melee, we're gonna go Celestial Fire. Scorches at range. It's fast, smooth, and fuels our loot. You can swap to Incinerator Snap if you prefer close range burst, but I like having distance control. For the grenade, we're gonna go Healing Grenade. By default, it applies ×1 Cure, which is a 60 HP burst, and Restorations ×1, which is a 35 HP a second recovery for 4 seconds. With Touch of Flame, the aspect, that's boosted to Cure ×2, which is a 120 HP burst, and Restoration ×2, which is a 50 HP a second for 4 seconds, making it really strong in group and solo activities. Since we will be throwing grenades a lot, you'll be able to keep this up quite easily. This does depend if you're in a fire team or if you are running a solo activity. For the aspects, the first one we're going to equip is Touch of Flame. This is what makes your healing grenade so much stronger. Without it, you're getting basic healing. With it, you become a mobile healing station that can pop off a fight team and survive solo easily. For the second one, we're gonna go Helion. Wherever you use your class ability, it summons a little solar turret that scorches nearby enemies. This will be another easy way to apply Scorch to targets. For the fragments. These are the real engine behind the build. They turn your support and Scorch into full-blown feedback loop. Ember of Benevolence. Anytime you apply Cure, Restoration or Radiant to allies, your melee grenade and Rift regen are increased by 400% for 6 seconds. In my opinion, it's one of the most powerful regen tools in the entire solo kit. For the second fragment, we're gonna go Ember of Torches. Your powerful melee makes you and allies radiant, giving you a 20% weapon damage buff. And it also gives you a way to counter barrier champions. Then we're gonna go Ambers of Ashes. We apply 50% more Scorch stacks, which gets you to ignitions way faster. Crucial to get the big skadoosh. I'm actually not sure how to say this, but Ember of Singeing. Every time you apply Scorch, your class ability regen rate increases by 400% for 3 seconds. So even Helion's little turret feeds your Rift cooldown. If you're running solo, consider swapping Benevolence for Ember of Empyrean to keep Restoration and Radiant going longer after each kill. For the exotic armor, As for the exotic, I personally have not used this exotic at all on Warlock. Maybe in the very early days. Talking about way before Final Shape. And to be honest, I really should get out of my hunter bubble and look at Warlock and Titan exotics more. We're gonna use Dawn Horus. It boosts Daybreak projectile damage by 90%, but more importantly, it increases Scorch damage by 200% from all sources. For example, the Scorch from Celestial Fire and Incandescent weapons. On top of that, you get 5% melee energy back per Scorch tick. So the more things you light up, the faster you cycle back into your loot. The weapons. For the kinetics log, you can really go what you enjoy most. I personally run either Fatebringer with Firefly and Explosive Payload, or if it's harder content, Adamantite, the new auto rifle from the Nether activity for that extra healing. For the energy slot, I heavily recommend going Aberrant Action. The Solar Rocket Sidearm. This with Incandescent and Heal Clip will make it really easy to add clear and get some healing out of it as well. If you do not have it or simply don't want to run it, I still recommend using something with Incandescent at least so you have another easy source of Scorch. For the heavy, we will equip a rocket launcher I'm sure a lot of you remember, Dragon's Breath. When it came out, it was an absolute meta weapon. Now it has been put a little bit to the side since other weapons are more viable of course. But for this build, it's perfect. It applies really easy Scorch, making ignitions much more frequent on boss enemies. A little side note, you could switch things up and utilize the Solo Auto Rifle no hesitation as well, since that will trigger Ember of Benevolence too, and it has the perk Physic, which grants ×1 restoration or 35 HP second recovery to you and the targeted ally. And together with that, you can put Incandescent on it as well. The focus, as for each build in this day and age, is on 100 resilience, so we get less damage from enemies. Then focus on discipline and afterwards recovery. I'm running 100 resilience and discipline, and my recovery is at 50. You really don't need too much recovery, because you will have a constant source of healing applied to you, thanks to your abilities. As for the armor mods, on the helmet we're gonna go twice Harmonic Siphon, which will be solar, and heavy ammo finder. For the arms, we're gonna go heavy-handed. Powerful melee elimination creates an orb of power. Then impact induction, causing damage with a powerful melee, regenerates 12% grenade energy. And grenade kickstart. With 1 copy of the mod and 3 armor charges, we will get 34.4 of our grenade energy back on use. On the chest, we're gonna go Harmonic Reserve. Increases the amount of ammo you can carry for weapons matching your super energy. So in this case, solar. Then any resistant mods you need for the activity, and for the legs we're gonna go Recuperation. Picking up an Orb of Power replenishes 70 health per orb. Innervation replenishes 10% grenade energy when picking up an Orb of Power, and Harmonic Scavenger. Weapons matching the element of your super will get bonus reserves when picking up ammo. As for the chest, in this case solar weapons. Then for the class item, we're gonna go 2 bombers, which with 2 copies will give us 17% grenade energy every time we use our class ability. And in addition to that, we're gonna use Reaper. After class ability usage, the next weapon kill will generate an Orb of Power. You could switch out one of the bombers with Powerful Attraction if you want, so you automatically collect any orbs within 12.5 meters when using your class ability. Just for a little bit of insight, this is my usual rotation of abilities. First melee, then the healing grenade, then the rift, and then start eliminating enemies. That first melee gives you radiant and starts your scorch chain. Your grenade pops you off and heals allies. Your rift procs Helion's turret and triggers benevolence, speeding everything back up. If you find a better rotation that feels smoother for you, let me know. I'd love to test it out. This isn't as overpowered or a hardcore DPS monster as other current builds, but it's just incredibly well-rounded, fun, and it works in everything from seasonal content to endgame. You get constant ignitions, ridiculous healing uptime, and a steady support role without ever having to run Well of Radiance. And the best part, it all flows naturally once you start to loot, which is why this one earned a solid spot in my most fun builds I've played for each class. Up to the next build, Prismatic Titan, the build everybody knows, but it's just that good. I'd be lying through my teeth so hard they'd snap off if I said this was some secret Titan build nobody knows. By the way, this is a reference to a song from a certain singer. If you get it, you get it. This is a very well known build, but it 100% deserves to be in this video because for me, it's hands down one of the most fun Titan loadouts I've ever played. I'm not a Titan main, so maybe I'm easy to impress, but the moment I put this build on, I felt like an actual boss. Everything around me was getting melted and I just felt unkillable. For the super, we're gonna go Glacial Quake, an incredibly strong AoE super with tons of stasis crystal generation. You can shatter enemies left and right and deal massive damage. For the class ability, we're gonna go Thruster. I personally run Thruster because I like the fast lateral movement it gives, but there's no real advantage over Rally Barricade here, so use what is best for you. For the melee, we're gonna use Frenzied Blade. We're actually not going to use this melee itself. The only reason why we take it is because it gives us free melee charges. And that works perfectly with an aspect we're gonna equip. As for the grenade, we're gonna use Shackle Grenade. Shackle is great for suspending enemies, especially chunkier targets like Unstoppables. Let's get to the aspects. The first one you wanna equip is Knockout. Critically wounding enemies buff your melee damage for 6 seconds. That is 100% for base melee and a 50% for charged melee. It also gives you amplified on melee kills. In addition to that, you also get free healing. Red bars are 50 HP, orange bars are 75 HP, and yellow bars are 100 HP. In my book, that's a pretty awesome trade-off for just punching something. Then for the second aspect, Consecration. This is the core of the build. Slide and use your charged melee to leap forward, creating a solar wave that applies 40 Scourge. Tap melee again in mid-air to slam to the ground and trigger an immediate ignition on scorched targets, and that with a 20% damage boost. It's one of the most satisfying abilities in the game, and the synergy we're building into makes it devastating. For the fragments, we're gonna go Facet of Protection, which gives us a 15% damage reduction when 3 or more enemies are within 15 meters. You'll be close often, so this is active a lot. Then we're gonna go Facet of Courage. Your light abilities deal 10% more damage to targets affected by Strand or Stasis debuffs, which we apply with Shackle Grenade and Aegis Scepter. Facet of Awakening. Eliminating 3 enemies within 6 seconds of each other spawns an elemental matching elemental pickup. Facet of Balance. 3 enemy kills in 3 seconds of each other gives 10% melee or grenade energy based on light or darkness kills. For the last fragment, we will go Facet of Ruin. Shattering enemies or destroying stasis crystals deals an additional damage instant. In addition, Ignition's AoE have a 20% increased radius. For the exotic armor, Synthoceps grants biotic enhancement while within 15 meters of 3 or more enemies. This will give us, amongst other things, 50% increased super damage and 165% increased melee damage. This plays perfectly into our Consecration to deal massive amounts of damage. For the weapons, this is where I added my own flavor. I know a lot of people run different combos, but here's what's been working really well for me. In the kinetic slot, I'm gonna go Aegis Scepter. I personally feel Aegis Scepter does a great job in this build. Not only synergizes with Facet of Ruin thanks to freezing targets, but it adds another layer of crowd control by just getting 1 kill with it, and it easily charges up the darkness meter for Transcendence. In addition, thanks to Facet of Awakening, we will be able to create stasis shards that give us 10% melee energy back. In the energy slot, I go Subjunctive, the Arc SMG. Quick, reliable, and helps us generate ionic traces through Facet of Awakening. You can swap this out, but I'd recommend keeping something Arc in this slot to maintain ability loop uptime. In the heavy, basically anything you like. I, for example, use the Chill Inhibitor Grenade Launcher from Vesper's Host right now, but you can run anything. I do want to underline that the kinetic and energy weapon slots are pretty flexible. You could, for example, go Tinasha's Mastery in the kinetic slot and Trinity Ghoul in the energy. For the armor stats and mod setup, as always, we start with 100 Resilience. Then push Discipline and afterwards aim for Recovery. Since we're so melee heavy based, Strength is also worth investing in. My current stats are 100 Resilience, 100 Discipline, 80 recovery and 60 strength. Let's get on to the mods for the armor. On the helmet, I have 3 times hands on. This gives us super energy on power melee kills, which we'll be doing a lot. For the arms, twice heavy handed. Spawns an orb of power by eliminating enemies with power melee. You could switch this out for something like focusing strike if you want. On the chest, any resistant mods you need for the activity. On the legs, recuperation. Picking up an orb of power replenishes 70 health per orb, and then twice invigoration. Each orb you pick up gives us 13% melee energy back. On the class ability, the first mod we're going to use is Reaper. After using our class ability, the next weapon kill creates an orb of power. Then we're going to equip Outreach. Using your class ability recharges 12% of your melee ability, and then Powerful Attraction. Auto collect orbs in a 12.5 meter radius after class ability use. As mentioned at the start, this build I'm sure 99% of you already know. But that doesn't mean it doesn't deserve a place here, because it isn't just strong, it's incredibly fun to play. Between the power fantasy of slamming entire rooms into the dirt, the survivability and the melee loop that just keeps going, this build makes me feel like an absolute tank. Whether you're a new Titan trying out something wild or a long time main who never got tired of consecration slams, this one feels right. If you played this before, I'd love to know how you've customized it. Different weapons, different rotation, or even a different exotic. I'm always up to experiment with loadouts like this, so feel free to drop suggestions. Let's move on to the last build. The Prismatic Hunter, the Stasis Shuriken spamming, Stasis Crystal creating Master. For my Hunter, I've been running this build for a while now. And I even used it during contest mode for Vesper's Host, where it performed surprisingly well. It didn't make it into my top 5 Hunter builds video, but trust me, this one absolutely deserves its own spotlight. The whole idea? Spam Wearing Blades, freeze everything, and create stasis crystals non-stop. And we're using a pretty new exotic. One I instantly fell in love with. Finally, another Hunter helmet that looks great and plays even better. The only other one, in my opinion, would be Celestial Nighthawk. But before that, let's move on to the abilities. For the super, we're gonna go Shadow Shot Deadfall. My favorite Hunter super, hands down. It suppresses and weakens enemies caught in the tether anchor, increases the damage taken by 30%, and sharing 50% body shot damage with other tethered enemies. This has been in my loadout since I was in New Light, and I still think it's one of the best all-around Hunter supers out there. And thanks to Fragment, we will get Overshield from it as well. On the class ability, we're gonna go Gambler's Dodge. Quick and easy way to get your charged melee back, which is key for this entire build too. On the melee, we're gonna go Withering Blades. This is the heart of the build. With 2 charges and up to 3 bounces per throw, each shuriken applies 60 slow per hit. At 100 stacks, targets freeze, and trust me, you'll hit that threshold a lot. For the grenade, we're gonna go Duskfield. Great for area control and quick freezes. Throw it into a crowd and it'll lock things down fast. It also helps trigger stasis synergy with facets and supports the whole freeze plus shatter loop. Let's move on to the aspects. For the first one, we're gonna go Ascension. Ascension uses our class ability to jolt nearby targets and apply Amplify to you and nearby allies. Ascension now not only consumes your class ability, but it behaves like it as well. Since we have Gambler's Dodge, this means we will get our charged melee back when we use Ascension near target, making it easy to get those shurikens back. For the second aspect, we're gonna go Stylish Executioner. Defeating enemies affected by debuffs like Jolt, Freeze or Slow turns you invisible. It's a great survival layer and a way to reposition mid-fight. Now, if you prefer a different approach, you can run Winter's Shroud instead of Ascension. Dodging slows enemies and gives you a 300% class ability recharge rate when you slow anything, including via Duskfield or, for example, Chill Clip. If you want to run Ascension and Winter Shroud, just keep in mind, Ascension won't trigger the slow effect from Winter Shroud, since it's not a true dodge. It will still benefit from the recharge bonus though. Personally, I stick with Ascension plus Stylish Executioner for the Joil, Amplified in this chain. Let's look at the fragments. For the first one, we're gonna go Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power gives you an elemental buff based on your super. Since we're using Void, we get Void Overshield, perfect for tanking while freezing. Then we're gonna go Facet of Ruin. Shattering enemies or destroying stasis crystals deals an additional damage instance. This will be insane thanks to the easy freeze we have in this kit. For the third one, we're gonna go Facet of Hope. Increases class ability recharge when you have an elemental buff applied to you, like Amplified or Invisibility. 1 is 40% and 2 is 60% increased class ability recharge. For the second last one, we're gonna go Facet of Protection. Grants 15% damage reduction when surrounded by 3 or more enemies. Easy passive survivability. Then for the last one, Facet of Blessing. Melee final blows trigger health regen. Since we throw Withering Blades constantly, you'll proc this often for self-sustain. Let's get to the exotic armor. This is the exotic that ties the whole build together and is easily one of my favorite additions to the Hunter collection. Mask of Fealty. I hope I said that right. When Withering Blades hit and bounce between targets, a stasis crystal will be created. This occurs on the first and third bounce. In addition, this will return 7.5% melee energy. Shattering a crystal or a frozen target with Withering Blades will send out 3 Withering Blades from that position. The shuriken spam becomes visually wild and mechanically useful. As mentioned at the start, I used the version of this build during Vesper's host contest mode, and the ability upline, freeze potential and self-sustain were seriously impressive. Let's move on to the weapons. What you run depends on your aspect, but assuming you're running Ascension like I am, in the kinetic it's really your choice. Go with anything you enjoy. I would go with a primary ammo weapon so your energy slot can do the heavy lifting. On the energy, I recommend you using the Psycho Pomp. This is a new area denial grenade launcher from Season of Heresy. It's amazing in this build. If you get one with Pugilist plus Demolitionist, you will gain 10% melee and grenade energy on kills. Fast, reliable and keeps your loop going. On the heavy is your call. I personally run Watchful Eye with Rolling Storm, which gives bolt charges, and with the Seasonal's artifact we get ×2 resist, which is a 25% damage reduction, plus a 85% bonus to base melee and grenade recharge rate. You're free to swap this to whatever fits the activity or your personal playstyle. Now, if you use Winter Shroud, you could equip Tinasha's Mastery or Eagle Scepter to keep that 300% class ability regeneration up. For the armor stats and mod setup. For your stats, you want to have 100 resilience, 100 discipline, or if you want, you could convert that into more strength and then focus on mobility. For the helmet, we're gonna go Arc Siphon. Creates orbs or multi-kills with arc weapons. Since we have the arc grenade launcher and an arc heavy machine gun, we will be able to make use of this quite easily. Then we're gonna equip Hands On. How melee kills give additional super energy. If you switch your super to Storm's Edge, you could use Harmonic Siphon and double up on Hands On if you want. For the arms, Heavy Handed. Melee kills spawn Orbs of Power. Then Focusing Strike, melee hits give 12% class ability energy, and Bolstering Detonation. Grenade damage grants 12% class ability energy. On the chest, we're gonna go Charged Up, which increases maximal armor charges from 3 to 4, and then any resistant mods. On the legs, we're gonna go Recuperation. Picking up an Orb of Power replenishes 70 health per orb. Invigoration, each orb you pick up gives 10% min energy back, and stacks on stacks. Get an extra armor charge per orb. Since we are using Ascension, this is quite important. We can't make use of powerful attraction, so having that extra armor charge from stacks of stacks really will make a difference. On the class item, we're gonna equip Healthy Finisher. Fully restores health plus shield on finisher, which uses 1 armor charge. And then twice utility kickstart. With 1 mod and 4 armor charges, we get 41.3% class ability back when we use it. This works with Ascension too. If you don't use Ascension, you could go as well Powerful Attraction to collect any orbs nearby when you use your class ability, or Reaper for more orbs after class ability usage. In addition, you could update the other armor pieces with mods that give you ability energy when using your class ability. Sadly, Ascension doesn't work with these mods. I absolutely love this build, not just because it's effective, but because it's satisfying. You turn Withering Blades into a real threat, not just a support tool. Crystals, slows, shatterbursts, invisibility, overshield, amplified, and all of it just flows together when you're in the rhythm. And maybe just the vibe, but it definitely makes me feel like a proper ninja hunter. If you find anything that makes this build even better, please let me know. So yeah, Those 3 loadouts are amongst the most fun for me to play across all 3 classes. Whether it's freezing entire rooms as a ninja hunter, becoming a Titan unit that slams through waves of adds with Consecration, or turning a solo Warlock into ignition spamming healer. Each of these builds brings something unique to the table. If you want to try any of them, the dim links are in the description. They're already set up and ready to copy over into your own loadouts. And of course, huge shout out to the tools that make videos like this even possible. Destiny Data Compendium, Light.gg, and Destiny 2 Armor Picker. Easily some of the most important resources when you create videos like this. Thanks a ton for watching. If you've got loadouts you've been having a blast with lately, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm always down to test something new. And as always, have a great day, night, evening, morning, or afternoon, whatever your time zone is. I hope I'll see you in the next one.